Hi, this is Luann from Rockin Book Reviews, and I'm so happy to be here today with Edna Dratch-Parrker and Jeri Solomon. We are so happy to have you here today. You are both fantastic in your experiences, and I'm so excited for everybody to get to know you, and two awesome successful women who hold their age well. I wish I did so well.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
You're just beautiful. I'd like to start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself and your childhood and so forth. And will you please start with a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and so forth?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I grew up outside the suburb of Boston. It's Lexington. It's actually a little bit of a celebrated town. It's where the Revolutionary War began. Lexington conquered. I grew up there. My dad was a physician, and my mom did collection development. And we, had a lovely upbringing. And, I'm the oldest of three girls. And I was lucky enough to grow up in a town with my cousins as well. So extended family. It was really wonderful. Yeah, just really lucky. And I feel, as I get older too, I realize more and more how fortunate I was to be able to have such a nice base to sort of bounce off with.
Wonderful. So is there a couple of experiences you can think of that had an impact in your life that helped make you the person you are today?
I mean, I think, one of the main things for me, outside of just having a really strong family base, which I think has a lot to do with who I am, I actually grew up not knowing that I had a learning disability until I actually got into high school. And so I had many years of struggle with understanding why I wasn't understanding, I guess, so to speak. And it was a little bit of a tough road, but interestingly enough, as I went through that journey, I still have these wonderful, great memories because I had a lot of friends and I had a lot of fun, but I sort of felt like I had this sort of little bit of a secret, like I wasn't following the dot, but I kind of overcompensated with friendships and good times and things like that. And by the time I got to high school, it was discovered. And once it was discovered and there was actually help for me, it really transformed everything for me. And I was always really strong in art. That was the one saving grace too, because I had all these troubles, but always was an A student in art all the way through.
Super.
And always loved art. So I think the one nice thing that came out of that was it really gave me direction. As soon as I graduated from high school, I knew I was going on to art school, and that was my road. So it's pros and cons, but that's my story.
I have a son that has learning disabilities, and he wasn't fortunate enough to get help, but they just still didn't understand them back then. It's hard because people with learning disabilities seems normal in every way. So everybody expects them to be the same as everybody else, but they're not.
You can't see it.
I think it's harder than some illnesses because you can see people with some disease, illnesses and stuff.
Yeah.
But with learning disabilities, it's like in the background and you don't see it.
Well, people used to always say to me, you don't pay attention, you're not listening, what's wrong with you? And I'd be like, I do not know what's wrong with me, but I cannot follow the dots here. So yeah, I like to believe that it took me to where I am, and that had a pretty good run so far. So
well, you prevailed. When I started studying learning disabilities, I found there's so many great people like Mozart and Einstein, and that they all had learning disabilities. So it's not because you aren't intelligent enough. It's just the way your brain processes. So I think you've done marvelous, and I commend you.
Well, I had this report written about me when I was in second grade, and the woman wrote in this report that she didn't think I was going to be successful. Because this was a long time ago. I don't want to give my age away. Very, very, very long time ago. We all have a lot to learn about learning in general for different minds and different things, but I'm definitely a creative soul, and I think that had a lot to do with it.
And you have really excelled. And Jeri, same thing. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your life?
Sure. So I also grew up in a suburb of Boston that happened to be an adjoining town to Edna's town. And I also grew up with two sisters. I'm the youngest of three girls. And my father was also a physician, and my mother was an interior designer. And that was my life as a youngster. I loved doing theater and played field hockey as a kid. And so that was my young life. Yeah, so I think the most significant thing that happened in my young life was my mom actually passed away when I was 20 years old from colon cancer. And, needless to say, that was a very pivotal moment in my life and put kind of everything into perspective. I was in college at the time, and, here people are so upset that they failed a midterm and that, or things like that. Oh, I can't believe I did so poorly on that test. And I could kind of see that there's a bigger picture. So I think learning that at a young age has allowed me to kind of roll with things a little bit more. And then a couple years after my mom passed, my father remarried a wonderful woman, and she has a son and a daughter. So I gained a stepsister and a stepbrother, and that family, we've really kind of truly blended as a family, thanks to both of my parents making that a very important part of our lives. And so I feel very blessed to have, my blood family and my step family. And so that was the beginnings of my journey.
And that is wonderful. It doesn't often happen that families blend so well.
We are so blessed, and we work really hard at it. And, we are in the wedding industry. My father was married to my mother for 33 years, and my stepmother, they're both still living. My stepmother and he are married 35 years this fall, I think.
Wonderful.
Yes, 35 in a couple weeks.
So you two have so much in common. Did you know each other before now?
Go ahead, Edna. It's a great story.
By the way, my parents are still married, and I think they're going on 65 years. Anyways, just want to throw that in. So Jeri was in the event. So Jeri was in the event industry before me, and you probably know from my bio, I have a lot of different, background, graphic design, marketing, branding, and all these different things. And I decided that I wanted to be three-dimensional with my design. So I decided to get into event planning so I could get into event designing, because I'm really an artist. So I decided to become a wedding planner, and I, transitioned over into that, doing design. And I started networking. There's a lot of networking in Boston, lots of great organizations. And I started going to them, and Jeri was there. We sort of got to know each other, and we started to realize our husbands are both named Jim. We both love cats. I've got one right over there. So
back there.
We just clicked. I mean,
and to have your fathers both physicians.
Yeah, and actually our fathers did know of each other too. And one other thing, my dad was a military doctor, and he was stationed in France, and where I was born. And it turns out that Jeri's older sister was also born in France, because her father was a medical doctor stationed in France.
Really weird. But I think when we really became really good friends was when I was helping my aunt, who has since passed, plan her wedding anniversary. She lived in a retirement home. And so we were in like the public space, kind of looking at it, figuring out, and there was this woman off in the corner who was eyeing us. And I was like, what is this woman doing? And she came up to us. She's like, are you planning a party? And my aunt was like, yes, well, my niece is in the wedding industry, so she's helping us plan this anniversary party. And this woman said, well, my niece is in the wedding industry. And I'm like, who's your niece? And she said, Edna. And she didn't even have to finish the name, because there are no other Ednas, right? And I was like, I know Edna Dratch-Parrker. And so then I left that meeting, and I texted her, and I said,
you said, Aunt Mary says hi.
Aunt Mary says hi, knowing that in a second I was either going to get a phone call or a text back. And I think that was where,
Aunt Mary?
Yeah, how does she know my Aunt Mary? So I think that was like the time where we're really like, okay, maybe we're more than colleagues or friends. Maybe we're kind of more sisters. Like, this is just very weird.
And I just want to say, my Aunt Mary just turned 100. And she is an amazing, she doesn't even really need a cane. She uses it to point and stuff. So she's amazing.
And our book is dedicated to those two ladies, Aunt Eleanor, my Aunt Eleanor and her Aunt Mary, because they truly are like matriarchs who loved a good family celebration. Family meant so much to them. So it just seemed like so perfect to
This is too
dedicate
incredible.
it to
It
them.
can't be a coincidence you two were brought
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
together. Okay. Edna, you have
Yeah.
had over 20 years of experience as an artist and a creative director. Will you tell us what creative director is?
Well, first of all, I hate to say way more than 25 years, but we won't go into that.
That was on
Kind
the
of scale
bio.
So basically, I went to art school. When I graduated, I went to Maine College of Art in design. And when I graduated, I stayed in Portland at the time, and I hit the ground running with my portfolio back in the day when you carried the old portfolios. And I started doing, graphic design, photography. I was just very immersed in the creative community in Portland, Maine. It's very prevalent there. It's a very exciting city for creative folks. And I started growing my business as a freelancer, and I started to get into bigger projects, and I became a partner with someone in an advertising agency, and we did all kinds of stuff for like commercial real estate and big retail companies, cellular companies back in the day when they were like cellular companies. And so through that, you have these large projects. And so there's so many moving parts on the creative front. So you become I'm a graphic designer, I'm an art director, I'm a creative director. I could go on a photo shoot and sort of produce that photo shoot and how it would be from a creative standpoint. So I look at everything through a creative eye. And again, that's what I do with my event planning business. I'm not just a planner, but I trademarked the name The Wedding Brander. And so I really love to brand people's weddings. And that's basically learning about them and putting a personal stamp on their wedding that really speaks to who they are. That's been my niche for many, many years.
And I can see how that would bring much success. Jeri, you were owner of Jeri Solomon Floral Design, but you did much more than floral design. Can you tell us what you did?
So my business, which is 28 years of doing this business, I mostly focus on events. So it's not like a flower shop as much as an event production company. Most of what I do is weddings. So again, like with Edna, it's a lot of project management. It's a lot of customer service. We generally work with clients that require a high level of detail. So it's not just making beautiful flowers, it's also kind of their whole experience of the process. From we could work together for months to create an event. So yeah, that's my main Jeri Solomon Floral Design does.
Okay. Edna, you owned, and do you still own your swimwear company?
Oh, goodness, no. That was in the early 90s. I keep referencing to this way back, but there's a lot of history here. So, but I started that because I really again, I love three-dimensional creativity. So I started to develop a line of swimwear, and I had a great time with it. I consider that my master's degree in business. And it was just really such a great experience because I learned about high level business too, and I learned a lot about the garment industry, and I traveled to New York, Florida. I had my manufacturer in Florida, and at the end of the day, this was before the internet. And I often wonder what it would be like today if I had the internet, because I think it would be, I might still have a business. But I ended up being asked to come join this advertising agency with my partner. And that was really a great transition. And then eventually I moved back to the Boston area from Maine and started in this whole event industry. So, a couple of little swerves in the path, but that was a while ago.
You did quite a few shows and stuff when you were doing that, right?
I did fashion shows.
Yeah.
I was on TV. I was on radio. Was written about. It was pretty exciting at the time. It was a lot of fun.
That does sound fun. Okay. And okay, you both are a part of Real Deal Wedding insiders. Tell us what that is.
So I'll start. Ed and I have been doing weddings together for a really long time. And I think because of our friendship, we always knew that we were going to do other projects as well. And the Real Deal Wedding Insiders, which we are the Real Deal Wedding Insiders, that has come out of our friendship and our working together and our collaboration. And we realize that we have so much information because we experience and live weddings all the time and every weekend. And we saw so many places where our clients and other people's clients were struggling with the planning process. It's a big project. And I think sometimes when people go into it, they don't realize all the different pieces. We realized that we had a lot of information to share. That's why we wrote our book, Guide to Smart Wedding Planning. So that's where it started.
Now, before all this, you had some remarkable successes. Can you tell us about a few of them?
About the weddings or
Yes.
about? So we've had a couple of weddings together. So as a floral designer, Edna would bring me into her events. She would have a client and she would say, Jeri's a right fit for you. And they would have a vision. And so I would be responsible for creating the floral piece of that vision that then worked with all the other pieces of whatever that vision was. And we've had a couple of awards that Edna, they're really Edna EFDs.
So I had done an event and brought Jeri in as a florist, and it did win a national award, which was very exciting. And, a lot of why it looked so beautiful was because of Jeri's florals and some other things that we did too. But
and then we got our winter wedding in the Flower magazine. So that's fun. We've had some national success.
Exposure, yeah, some
And
exposure
you've
together.
had a lot of honors given you for other events.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. It's okay just to sort of go back a little bit about how we started Real Deal
Right.
Wedding Insiders. And as a wedding planner myself, I felt that my couples were taken very good care of because I was their
Yes.
planner, and I went in and we avoided all the pitfalls and things because they hired a planner. But there's also a lot of people who don't hire a planner. As a wedding planner myself, my couples were always in good hands because they had me, and so I would help them avoid all the pitfalls. But not everybody has a wedding planner, so we wanted to take the information that I've had as a wedding planner and Jeri's many years in the industry as a florist and being involved in so many weddings, and putting together this book for people who don't have a wedding planner and can have the information at hand to help guide them through the process. I mean, that's one of the nice things about a planner is, we help protect people from a lot of the pitfalls, but there's also a lot of issues that we're not involved in, like family dynamics and money and things like that. So we've seen a lot of things, and we were able to put it into the book, all these things that we've learned, all the things that we've learned, all the things that we saw, and acquired through being in the industry and listening to so many stories and how people resolved them or what happened. So we just gathered all this information from our combined years.
And I think what makes our information a little bit different than what other outlets might have is that we're not shying away from the harder conversations. We're not just talking about like what flowers are in season or what hairstyles should you wear with this neckline and that things like that. We do talk about how to deal with stressful relationships. We do talk about money. And so these are things that I saw my clients, and I know Edna did too, that these were things that people were struggling with. Like, oh, I can't believe my mom's being so difficult, or I can't believe my future mother-in-law's. I had no idea this was going to happen. And it's like, yeah, it happens because it's an emotional time. Combination of a lot of effort and emotions and money, and you combine all that together.
And you're
Yes.
combining lifestyles and different cultures.
Yeah,
all of it. And and I think in this part of the world, it's all like, oh, you're engaged, it's the best time of your life, or it is the best time of your life, and it might be the most stressful time of your life, and those two things are not mutually exclusive. And so we're really straight with people about that. Like, you can be having the best time of your life and so excited, and also it's okay that you're stressed. But if you read this book, maybe you'll be less stressed because you'll be a little more prepared for what might be down the road for you. And if it doesn't come down the road, great.
So your book goes into some in-depth problems?
Yeah, we have, I was gonna say, we have some real life examples, so people can see that. We also really break down some very basic things that I think in a lot of places people assume people know how to do. Like, what's a vision? Because so many people will say, oh, what is your vision for your wedding day? Well, what if some poor person doesn't even know what a vision is? Let's roll it back, and because that's stressful. I'm supposed to have a vision. What does that mean? Well, let's go all the way back. We want to mitigate the stress. We want to help people really be an educated consumer and an educated person to manage this project.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
I just want to say
about, go ahead.
No, I just want to say what's also really important to share about us in the book is that we live it in the trenches. We are professionals that live all the time in the trenches in the wedding industry. It's a different aspect than maybe how some other people have written about wedding planning. So it's kind of like we've lived it. Our feet are hurting us at the end of the night. We come home and plop on the bed. We're like, oh my God, we're so exhausted, but that was a great night. We have the heartbeat of what's going on because we're living in that industry night and day, we love it. And a lot of people in the wedding event industry are passionate about it, which is really cool, which is why there's so many networking groups and, you just meet so many people here in the Boston market. It is very like this community is a big city, but it's a small event industry in some ways.
So let's back up a minute to the Real Deal Wedding Insiders. Do you invite other people, or what was your main idea in building this?
No, I was just going to start off by saying that, we want to get the information out there. That was the first thing. And we had to create that, gather it all, put it together. But eventually what we'd like to do is take it, a few steps further, and be able to bring together a community and to be able to have other ways to get the book out there, but more than the book, to kind of build a brand and have people understand, like, this is a place where I can go to and I'm going to get great answers. I'm going to get the information that I need, and I'm going to be able to trust that this is good information.
So currently, we have started the Real Deal Wedding Insiders. In the future, we have a lot of colleagues and friends who we consider insiders, and perhaps there will be times and there will be ways in the future where we bring those people in. But, the book was our first way of getting our information out there. It is certainly not the last. We have lots of ideas coming down the pipeline, and we're really excited about it. And we truly hope that in the not too distant future, when somebody gets engaged, the first place they go is to Real Deal Wedding Insiders, because they know they're going to get the straight scoop. They know that there's going to be real information that will be helpful for them. And that's what we want. If people can enjoy the process and end up having the event that they want at a budget that makes sense for them, that's our goal. That's
now, is your book, does it mostly tend to relate to people of higher class standing, or is it for like the workman's daughter?
We made it really wanted anybody who's planning a wedding. So generally, if the more money somebody's spending on a wedding, the more complicated it is, because the more vendors they are and things like that. But guess what? At the end of the day, it's two people coming together, as you said earlier, Luann, blending their families and their cultures and spending some money, whether it's a lot of money or a little bit of money. It's usually a lot of money at any level,
Right.
So we want them to make their choices wisely. And so that could be the 10 people at the local restaurant and the ceremony happened at City Hall, or it could be the black tie affair with 25 different vendors and 300 people. It's still a project to manage.
There's a lot of issues that go on with a wedding, and it doesn't really matter what someone's budget is at the end of the day.
Mhm.
It's still a lot of the same things that happen. So I really, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, but this book covers anybody, a loving couple that want to get married, that want to make it a better experience for themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fantastic. It's something I wish I'd had. I wish I'd had it with my eldest daughter.
Right. So I do think it's great for parents if they're going to be part of the planning process. You know, for the couples, I think everybody can benefit from it.
Anybody,
Even a
anybody
really
and
good
everybody.
maid of honor.
Yes.
Book I found, and we couldn't really afford it at the time, but we ended up spending a lot more on my eldest daughter's wedding than we had planned.
And
But
That's very
it was like
common.
all high society type stuff. And, it was a wonderful reception and wedding, but it was like a nightmare. And and I would have
heard
learned
this
a lot more if
before.
I'd had more knowledge.
exactly, Luann. And I think that's really, we see that struggle all the time. I think it's close to 49% of couples spend over their budget. And that if they make the different decisions at the beginning of the process, it's like dominoes. You make decisions here, all of it trickles down. You make decisions to have a 200-person wedding at the downtown hotel, then you're on a road, that you can't change. So we want to we talk about the 3 C's of wedding planning, communication, comprehension, and calculation. Like comprehension, understand what you're doing and why you want to do it. Calculation, what's it going to cost? Communication between you and your partner, communication between you and your parents, communication between you and your vendors. It's a big project. I keep saying.
I mean, and we've seen it all. And that's why, we are really excited to be able to share this information, because we really want feel that we can really help people. And this is our way of doing that
Well, I'm sold, and I'm going to be excited more so now than in receiving my copy. And
by the end of the week, it'll be there. It's in the mail.
And we have a giveaway.
Yes.
Can you tell us what you're giving away?
Yeah, we have the book, we have a mug, and we have some really delicious treats to go with the mug that you can put your favorite beverage in.
Yeah,
we hope you'll sit down and enjoy the treats and drink your favorite beverage. And it's a quick read. It's not, we designed it to be a quick read that you could read every single word, or you can flip to the pages that make the most sense for you.
And I have to say, being a designer myself, and I'm the one putting together all the giveaways, it's going to look very pretty when it arrives.
And show us again the book of A Guide to Smart Wedding Planning.
Here, we'll both show it. Woo!
There. Okay. Thank you so much. You're both such a delight. And I hope we can meet again.
It was wonderful.
It would be great to do that. Thank you so much for your time.
Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. It's been super fun.
Do you have any goals for the coming 5 years?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I don't know. World domination.
I don't know if we have the time for that.
I don't know either, but let's fill in the last few minutes. So go ahead.
Sure.
Any goals you have?
Well, like I said earlier, we have a lot of plans for the Real Deal Wedding Insider, and we really want to get information out in a lot of different ways. So the book is just the beginning. We are working on a companion workbook that we hope to have out early next year.
That sounds wonderful.
Then we have
that'll be helpful.
We have all kinds of ideas. So stay tuned.
That sounds
very exciting.
Fantastic. Like I said, I wish you were around when my kids were getting married.
Well, that's what we want. We want everybody who like, oh my goodness, now we're planning this wedding. Where do we get the help? Where do we get the knowledge? We want everybody to be able to say, oh, the Real Deal, they'll set us on the
and
right.
It's from Wedding Insiders. I mean, we're right there. We really know what we're talking about. We've lived it.
Oh, and you both are so beautiful and look so full of energy. It just
you have to have a lot of energy in the wedding business.
I wish I could draw some of your wedding energy. So.
You have, believe me, you have a lot of energy yourself. Yeah. You're a beautiful lady, let me say.
Check back in at like 11 o'clock on a Saturday night after a long wedding. wedding. Maybe not so much energy
Oh,
then,
that's, just see me any day when I don't have all the makeup on. So,
Same here.
well, it's been,
a
again,
pleasure.
it's been
Thank you
wonderful, and
so
you're
much.
just both a delight. I can see why you are both so successful.
Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Fun.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm signing off now, and hope that you all will research the universe through books. Goodbye.
Bye.